You probably heard the phrase opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one, but nobody needs to see it. I think it's a good phrase. It's one that I come back to quite often. I'd probably go a bit further than that and say that one thing that really knits together most of the arseholes that I've met in my life is they tend to have very, very strong opinions. So we come back to arseholes from a number of different angles. Um, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion about something. It's important, right? Change doesn't happen unless you develop an opinion about things. But equally for myself, I find it quite challenging to have enough time to cast my brain out into detailed, difficult international, social, and political issues and research them sufficiently that I feel like I could stand behind a particular opinion that I might form on them. It would be a bit of a luxury to have that time, and I suppose it would be a luxury that meant that everything in my life was absolutely fine. I didn't need to think about that anymore. I suppose I'm a little bit more focused on maintaining the relationships around me, the people that are super important in my life, making sure I've got enough money to keep a house or a roof over our heads and all that sort of stuff. Um, I think the things that I generally understand well enough are probably super important things to me, because otherwise I'm just too busy doing all the general things that you have to do to keep a life of some substance going in the modern world. So I guess an opinion is either a luxury, i.e., you've got everything so sorted in your own life that you can just cast your brain out into the world and go hunting for things to think about, or perhaps it's a distraction. Perhaps people use opinions sometimes because things aren't particularly good in their life, or perhaps they're up against a particular issue or difficulty that they don't know how to solve. And in that instance, where you're sort of beset with grey areas and indecision, it can be nice, I suppose, to go out and try and find something external that's actually completely beyond your control and develop a really, really strong opinion about that. Something you can get hold of when perhaps you can't get hold of the things that really are affecting you on a day-to-day basis. So have a think, I suppose. If you're forming strong opinions, is it a luxury because you've got everything sorted in your own life, or is it a distraction because perhaps you haven't got everything sorted in your own life? And maybe go a bit further than that. If you are forming strong opinions on a regular basis, what's the value of that? Like I can have really, really strong opinions about pretty serious things, like what's going on in Russia or what's going on in Palestine at the moment. But unless I'm going to get off my arse and do something about it, what's the point? It's just mental masturbation, right? If I'm not going to actually start giving money to a cause or, getting on a plane and going out there and trying to offer humanitarian aid, there isn't really an awful lot of point in me having an opinion about who's right and who's wrong. And I certainly don't have the time to go back far enough in history to understand the context of something as complicated as that. So, yeah, it's super interesting. I think there is also a danger of pursuing black and white thinking, and I've talked about black and white thinking in one of my other videos. Um, I like to remain open to change, and I like to challenge my brain to be able to be aware of a situation without necessarily needing to take a side or polarize that into just a black or a white. Instead, just allowing the cognitive overhead of having something inhabit my brain, gradually building my understanding of it, taking in more and more data about it, but not necessarily getting to the point where I have to have a strong opinion either way. And I think the last thing I'd say about opinions is if you find yourself regularly trying to convince other people to share your opinions, that might also be something that's worth having a look at. Why does it matter? Like I know the gentlemen's clubs in London tend to have a rule where you can't talk about politics and religion, which to me shows that the kind of people who go to those particular places are sufficiently insecure that they all need to run around trying to make everybody think the same way that they do. And it's just not necessary, right? I can think what I think, you can think what you think, and we can all be sufficiently confident and have enough self-esteem to know that those things can be different and that you having a different opinion does not make mine less valid or important. So yeah, loads of stuff, and I think it all comes out of that same point, really. Opinions. If you've got any thoughts about this, if you've got any opinions about this, pop them in the comments. I'm going to go and play with this dog.